Uh, why am I here today? What does acupuncture and the clinic I work with have to do with West Seattle, sustainability, and the health of the planet? I hope this talk today can be the start of an ongoing conversation. I'll start by letting you know about our clinic. I work at the Community Acupuncture Project of West Sea. Our mission is to provide high-quality treatment at affordable rates to as many people as possible and as often as necessary. To meet this goal, we treat in a group setting with up to 5 people in a room at a time. We treat primarily in recliner chairs, although we have 2 massage tables as well. At our clinic, everyone keeps their clothes on. Only shoes and socks are removed. We offer a sliding scale so our patients can access the treatment they need. First visits are $30 to $60. You pay what you decide, and return visits are $20 to $50. And every Monday, we have specials for service workers and retail workers of $15 treatments. And every Wednesdays, we have t-shirt specials. So if you've got a great social justice t-shirt, environmental justice t-shirt, co-op t-shirt, come in and get a $10 treatment. We're open 7 days a week, including later today. That's where I'll be going next. We treat all people, from babies less than a year old to folks well into their 90s. We aim to create a welcoming clinic environment for all members of our community and offer LGBTQ+ competent care. We are wheelchair accessible, and 2 of our practitioners are bilingual, fluent in Vietnamese and Spanish respectively. I speak Spanish. We treat using points found on the arms, the hands, the legs, the feet, and occasionally the ears and the head. We primarily use distal acupuncture points, or points that are away from the primary source of pain. This way, we can treat aches and pains all over the body without asking anyone to remove their clothing. We also do this to avoid making a painful situation worse. We use Chinese medical channel theory to treat all kinds of health concerns. As Stu was mentioning, body pain that can come from injury, overuse, structural issues, headaches and migraines, fibromyalgia, reproductive health, fertility support, all the way through pregnancy support and labor induction, post-surgery healing, upper respiratory infections, allergy, asthma, anxiety, depression, insomnia, smoking cessation, recovery and addiction support, and PTSD and trauma support. We use single-use, disposable, sterilized needles. They're very, very small, inserted shallowly at specific points in the body for the purpose of facilitating a healing response. We ask our patients to relax with the pins for at least 30 minutes. We check in on you every 10. You're never alone for very long. And most people stay around 45 minutes to 1 hour. When the first CAP opened in Columbia City in 2009, it was the 3rd clinic of its kind in Seattle. Now, 8 years later, we are one of 10 clinics like this in Seattle. We're one of 15 around the state and one of several hundred worldwide. In addition to lowering barriers to entry through reduced rates, a group setting where friends and family can come in together and be seen at the same time, and being open as often as possible, our practitioners are trained in trauma-informed care, and we practice liberation acupuncture. So those are 2 terms that I'm going to do my best to define now. Trauma-informed care is broadly recognized by 4 principles. 1, it realizes the widespread impact of trauma and understands potential paths for recovery. 2, it recognizes the signs and symptoms of trauma in clients, families, staff, and others involved with the system. 3, it responds by fully integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices. And 4, it seeks to actively resist re-traumatization. We can meet these objectives in our clinic for most folks by not asking people to remove their clothes, by rarely being alone one-on-one with patients, by refraining from offering lifestyle or dietary advice, and by being as transparent as possible about the process of receiving a treatment and how to be a patient at our clinic. Liberation acupuncture, that's a practice, a framework, something that's still being born at this moment. It's a touchstone for understanding why we practice the way we do. A lot of times when people ask about acupuncture, they say, oh, that's that thing where people stick you with pins and it costs a lot of money and nobody can afford to do it. And that was a problem for a lot of us in the acupuncture profession because we want to be useful. We see this medicine work. We see the way that tiny pins can help people heal. And if nobody can afford to come, how can healing happen? Liberation acupuncture is heavily inspired by the writings of Ignacio Martín Baró, who was a Spaniard who lived in El Salvador and was a proponent of liberation psychology. He insisted a practice has to be useful and valuable to the popular majority. Otherwise, what good is it? There are two main reasons why new patients tell me they haven't tried acupuncture before. The first is a fear or concern of needles. And as I mentioned before, the second is they've just thought it's been out of reach. It's too expensive. They can't afford to come. A third reason people give me for not seeking acupuncture treatment is many of them have been traumatized by the healthcare system itself. Lisa Rollader is the founder of this movement. She's in Portland, Oregon, and she wrote a book this last year called Acupuncture Points Are Holds. And in it she writes, "In our culture, physical and mental suffering marginalize people. I spent 2 decades as an acupuncturist watching chronic pain push people to the edges of society. I don't think I can overstate how meaningful and powerful it's been for me to reverse that in my own life and work. The point of liberation acupuncture is to create community that includes suffering people," end quote. So at the heart of what we do is the belief that acupuncture works, but only when you can use it. We want to be useful to our communities, and we want people to get the care they need. So here's the manifesto from Liberation Acupuncture. You see a lot of tongue-in-cheek communist symbols and words. Early on in the movement, the originators were accused of being communist, and they said, we'll go with it. Let's put a red fist on a shirt and say acupuncture's for everybody. So here's the manifesto. Because acupuncture does not have to be expensive in order to be effective. Because military budgets balloon while healthcare is cut. Because nothing breaks through the isolation of pain, illness, and depression like healing in a room with other humans. Because our favorite way to spread the word about how well acupuncture works is to make it available to people. Because we are pleased to challenge the notion of value being attached to price. Because there aren't enough spaces where strangers switch off cell phones and slumber side by side. Because for thousands of years, acupuncture has been practiced in groups. Because returning acupuncture to its roots makes us the happiest of humble radicals. And because the vast majority of us love our work so much, we couldn't imagine doing anything else. By practicing this way, as well as designing our clinic to be a model of liberation acupuncture, we're aiming for our clinic to not just be a business or a form of healthcare, but a tool of health for the community. So, now that you know who we are and what we're about, why am I here today? What does any of this have to do with sustainability and the health of the planet and future generations? How are we at CAP sustainable? Is it because the tools of our medicine are so inexpensive? I've given treatments at clinics, school district health fair gymnasiums, private homes, and community rooms in neighborhood buildings. All I really need to do my job are chairs, needles, cotton balls, hand sanitizer, and a sharps container. Those are all really cheap materials. Is it because our clinics are often made up of thrift store furniture, Craigslist recliners, and a hodgepodge of blankets and pillows? Our clinic decor has been described as cozy or like a really weird living room. Where's the TV, you guys? Is it because our medicine is nature-based? Founded in China by Taoist monks who didn't have fancy equipment to describe what they were seeing and treating, they turned to nature and used nature metaphors to describe this and give us words to do our medicine. Illnesses can be hot, cold, windy, damp, or dry. Hot diseases must be cooled. Dry ones must be moistened. External pathogens that have invaded a healthy host must be let back out of the body. At the heart of this philosophy is something I was never explicitly told in acupuncture school, but have come to observe as a working acupunc. Bodies know how to heal themselves. Acupuncturists know that if we give the body a helping hand by redirecting resources through the body's internal meridian system, bodies can heal. We also know, from our modern understanding of anatomy and physiology, that bodies in stress will have a much harder time healing. If we can get a body to switch from a fight, flight, or freeze sympathetic state to a rest and digest parasympathetic state, we can let the body know it's safe to heal. Acupuncture is really good at guiding bodies through that transition. Is there a more sustainable way of healing than giving the body all it needs to do it on its own? Are we sustainable because our business model actively works to dismantle as many barriers to access as possible so that people in our community can actually come in for treatments, come in as often as they need, and we can be financially stable? Is financial independence and stability an important part of sustainability? Or is it because at the heart of our clinic and the center of what we do is the single greatest treasure and renewable resource of any community? The people. This is where I think CAP, our clinic, and Sustainable West Seattle share a lot of common ground. Sustainable West Seattle's vision statement reads, "We envision a West Seattle community of empowered citizens who actively lead us toward greater self-reliance, local democracy, social justice, and existence in harmony with life on Earth." That's beautiful. That's an incredible vision for a healthy, vibrant, long-lasting community. Just this weekend alone, this organization's connected West Seattleites with information about how to lower their carbon footprint through alternative energy sources, growing their own food, engaging in a barter economy. By working with projects like West Seattle Tool Library, West Seattle Bike Connections, Community Orchard of West Seattle Meaningful Movies, Time Bank of West Seattle, DIY Bikes, West Seattle Bike Connections, Fixers Collective, and Toxic Stormwater, I believe the organization is embracing sustainable living as a form of prefigurative intervention. What does that mean? This comes from our founder, again, Lisa Rollader, in her latest book, Acupuncture Points Are Holes. And she defines this as enacting the world we want to live in. She goes on to say, this means recognizing that the world we want to live in is not the one we have. Nobody's just going to give us the one we want, and we don't have the resources to overhaul the whole thing. With effort, though, we can find overlooked spaces, holes in the walls of capitalism, like providing acupuncture to ordinary people at a price they can afford. By means of cooperation and creativity, we can enact in those spaces the world we want to live in. We at CAP believe, and I think the folks at Sustainable West Seattle believe this too, that we can choose to live as though the future we want to make manifest is happening right now. Our patients at CAP are your friends and neighbors. They are kids, parents, grandparents, adult children caring for aging relatives. They are plumbers, mechanics, nail salon workers, window washers, hotel cleaners, landscapers, arborists, aerialists, acrobats, hairstylists, urban farmers, firefighters, and police officers. We have administrative assistants, doctors, lawyers, nurses, software engineers, bookkeepers, medical workers, journalists, authors, and at least one raging granny. They are athletes of all ages, fitness instructors, yoga teachers, massage therapists, mental health therapists, social workers, musicians, school counselors, and teachers. Sometimes we even see other acupuncturists. When these people feel healthy in body, mind, and spirit, they have so much more to give to their families, their jobs, and their communities. We hear patients report being able to go back to work because their pain is gone. We hear patients say they have physical stamina and emotional resilience to care for their family members again. We hear patients report that after months of trying, they're finally pregnant, and now could we please treat their morning sickness? When we're doing our job right, the clinic isn't about us acupunks. It becomes about our patients and what they are doing with what Mary Oliver calls their one wild and precious life. What could be more sustainable than to invest in the health of the people who live here? I'd like to end today with a reminder of the incredible power of one individual to create change. CAP, Community Acupuncture Project, our clinic, exists because a woman in Portland, Lisa Rollader, was struggling to make it as an acupuncturist. Her public health job lost its funding. Her private practice wasn't taking off the way she was told it would in acupuncture school. And she began to treat her neighbors in her living room, in groups at a time, charging whatever they could afford. She saw this model, realized she wanted to see if it was possible to make acupuncture affordable to working class people. She started working class acupuncture in 2002, began sharing her ideas and experiences with anyone who was interested. 3 years later, Working Class Acupuncture published their first book, The Little Red Book of Working Class Acupuncture. A year later, they began offering workshops for other acupuncturists to share this business model, the philosophies behind it, and their systems and experience. Later that year, the Community Acupuncture Network, a nonprofit, was founded. By the end of 2006, 11 clinics had started practicing as community clinics. Within 2 years, it was up to 32. By 2009, 115 clinics were open, and Lisa, along with several other CAN members, published Acupuncture's Like Noodles. The 200th CAN clinic opened in 2011. Practitioners and acupuncture students turning to this affordable sliding scale community model generated a critical mass of energy that propelled the community movement into its next stage of growth and development. On March 18th, 2011, the People's Organization of Community Acupuncture was born. POCA offers membership and leadership to community acupuncture patients, licensed acupuncturists, and those in training programs. community acupuncture clinics, and organizations who support our missions and members. In 2014, they started a school, Pocatec, the first dedicated to community acupuncture, and one that is a fraction of the price than what I paid to go to school. And 8 days ago, they graduated their first cohort of students. All of this began with one person. One working with others can create lasting change. As Marge Piercy writes in her poem, The Low Road, it goes one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again after they say no. It starts when you say we, and you know who you mean, and each day you mean one more. So thank you so much for your time. I have pamphlets and coupons and everything about our clinic, and I hope that today you feel inspired to tell me or tell your friends and family what you want to do with your one wild and precious life. Thanks.
Thank you, Cynthia. I just want to let you know the West Seattle Acupuncture Project, or the CAP project here, is very close to where we are right now. It's right on 44th off Glenway in Alaska. So if you wish to relieve some, I just tell you a story too. I was visiting her because it wasn't too long ago, I guess within a month ago, it was in June. I was having a lot of back issues, and it just happens in my form of what I do each day. And I visited her, and I just happened to remember when I saw Cynthia this morning, hey, there's no back pain. Even after 3 days of putting on this festival, I'm feeling really healthy and energetic. So, and thank you again. She is the first person who has read the Sustainable West Seattle Mission Statement. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. So, just reflect a little bit more on that. So the options we have, like if I took that back pain I was having, it was pretty severe. I wasn't able to really reach down and pick up things. I'm a bicycle mechanic, and I was dropping my tools, and it only happens when I have severe back pain that I keep dropping my tools. So I always had to reach down and reach my tools and pick them up again. It was very severe. It was very agonizing. It's what I call back hell. And I could have went to the doctor. I could have went right to the clinics and found out what they were going to prescribe for me. It was going to probably be something that masked the pain, making sure I didn't feel it, but didn't get rid of the problem. And in a lot of cases now, even on these smaller pain issues, we're getting prescribed things that are going to contain opioids. And the opioid problem is very well known now. We have a problem with opioid addictions throughout our nations, and it doesn't start with that dealer on the street, obviously. It does start with the pharmaceutical industry, who wants to make profit off of the opioid sales. That's their goal. They have board people that need to see profit each year, and the health industry in general is based on that. Things like the West Seattle Acupuncture Project and their CAP projects throughout the city are the alternative to that. And I can tell you it works. Anybody here have taken acupuncture treatment before? Does it work? It works, definitely. And don't be afraid of needles. You can't even feel when I've had Cynthia treat me, I've had other people there treat me. You don't feel the needles. Believe me, it's just like they don't exist, but they do their job. They're hitting the points they need to hit, and they do their job. So moving on today, we're going to be going on to a different subject. We're going to be talking about more of our physical activities. I am going to be the next person on stage, like I haven't been already all day and the 2 previous days before this. But we are going to be talking about the new exciting thing for transportation solution. It's called electric bikes. So we have a lot of bike traffic starting up in West Seattle, a lot of young, healthy people, and people who've been on bikes for a long time. They probably this weekend are riding to Portland because this is the big weekend, and then they put their bikes away and they don't go anywhere else until the next training series comes up for the Seattle to Portland again. Instead, we're looking at people who are coming out each morning, getting on their bikes, going to work, dropping off the kids at preschool, doing a variety of things on two wheels as we are improving, especially through our West Seattle Bike Connections, another project of Sustainable West Seattle. We are improving our facilities and our use for safe access to the roads for bicycles. But one of the things that always stands in the way. Anybody guess what it is? It's hills. Seattle has hills. So the electric bike movement has really taken off because people are now able to get to work without being covered in sweat. They're able to get to work without using all their energy just for the transportation purpose. And guess what? They get good physical health, exercise, and they also do it more often. So that's coming up right here at noon, which I don't think is too far away. It's only about 20 minutes away. I'm going to be setting up for that real soon. I hope you all come back or stay put one way or the other. And thanks again for coming to see the Green Light Festival, a project of Sustainable West Seattle. So I was just requested that if anybody was interested, the first day that we had here was called Sacred Waters Day. Of course, today is Health and Wholeness Day. But on Sacred Waters Day, we spent a lot of time talking about our southern region orca or killer whale population. And we've been taking a very cool orca whale that isn't quite fed yet. It will be fed with air. And taking it around and parading it through our Full Street Fair area. So if there's any two volunteers who'd like